Welcome, Sumo fans. We are back for our September preview for Grand Sumo. How are you doing?
Hello.
I'm Maria.
I'm John.
And we are 42 opinions, which means we're going to go through every single sumo wrestler on the list who is in the upper division. And we're going to give you our opinions, our thoughts, and maybe predictions of what's going to happen.
It's going to be an interesting tournament in September. It was a relatively short time between July and September compared to the 4 months off they had because they skipped the May. Lots to talk about, lots of things going on.
Yeah, and we're going to make our predictions and we're going to give our opinions, but really, we don't know what's going to happen.
It's hard to tell.
I don't know for sure, but if it's ever happened in history, it's only happened once. That you would have 4 months off and then have back-to-back tournaments, basically. So nobody's ready for this. Nobody's prepared. Everybody's got a game plan in their head. But when you get on the dohyo, who knows?
Who knows? Anything happens in those ropes.
It's just going to be a free-for-all, I think. So let's start off with the top dog who's been the top dog for a long time, and that would be Hakuho. He is at the same rank that he was in the last tournament, despite the fact that he did have to pull out on... What day did he pull out?
Day 14.
Day 14 he pulled out.
13.
When he actually was in the tournament until that injury. Like, he could have taken it all. We could have had some great matches with Taran Fuji. It did not happen. Okay, so Hakuho, we know he's at the end of his career. He would have already been retired had the Olympics happened. That would have been it. So he's kind of going beyond, and we're in a strange world in this beyond because it's clear that he has injuries, just injury on top of injury. Every time he pulls out, it's a different injury. This was knee. I guess he got surgery.
He had knee surgery on both his knees to clean them out, or at least that's what the news said. He hasn't officially pulled out. Now, maybe by the time this is up, it'll be out. But at first I'm just like, oh man, he had it and now he's out again. But thinking back on it, Hakuho was in a pattern of in and out frequently for like a year before this. So in a way, the fact that he was here in March and then here in July sort of just follows the same pattern.
Yeah, so nothing dramatic has happened yet. You can only hope that when he gets these surgeries, he can do another tournament. Mm-hmm. But obviously they're just piecing a very broken man back together. And yet he's so tough mentally. He's so tough. He's got the opposing presence that he can get all these wins. But I think the young guys are getting too tough. He's not going to be able to sneak many more out. He's going to have to push himself to his absolute limit if he wants to win another tournament. Sad, really, but...
He's got it in him. I just think that for the September tournament, he's not going to be here.
No.
So,
We've heard nothing from him. And silence with Hakuho means either not going to be in the tournament or show up on day one and retire on day two,
Mm-hmm. Speaking of retiring on day two.
Kakadu. So, he's been speaking a little bit here and there, which leads me to believe that either he feels he has to represent because he's going to be the sole Yokozuna. He probably knows the answer to that. Or maybe he's feeling better. He had practically the whole tournament off because he was out on day two. Maybe he's feeling better. Maybe he'll put up a decent score. I don't know. I think Kakadu's done, personally.
It's a coin flip when it comes to Kakuryu because sometimes he shows up. He has, over the last year or two, put together some tournament wins. So he's still got it in him. But he just seems fragile, almost. That injuries hit him, and then that's sort of the end of it. He's Yokozuna level. There's no contesting that. He's great to watch. But similar to Hakuho, it's just really how long can these people hold out? You can't help but feel that they're sort of waiting for the next wave to really cement themselves, and it does feel like we're sort of getting there. And it's just, will their body be able to hold out? Will they sort of like tie themselves together for however long it takes, or are they just gonna hit that point?
Right, and, you see this with other wrestlers. I'm fairly new to sumo, so I didn't see before 2017. But all of a sudden, you'll see these guys you've been watching for the last 3 years, and they just say, I'm retiring. And it seems like it's out of the blue. Will we get an actual hint Will there be a big moment where we say, oh, he's actually done? Or will he keep showing up and then all of a sudden, he'll retire and we'll all be shocked? Hard to say. Next is Asanoyama, who really, he lived up to the Ozeki status.
Props to Asanoyama. He rose to the occasion. He's now Ozeki 1 East, so he's the senior Ozeki, which makes sense because Takayama had to pull out. And now everybody's looking to Asanoyama. There's got to be the pressure of the universe on him for this tournament.
I almost think the second tournament is worse than the first because you have adrenaline that's going to carry you in. I'm the new Ozeki, and everybody's a little unsure, although they've been fighting Asanoyama for years, but everyone's a little unsure how's he going to do. Now they know, and now they make it like a vow. I'm coming for Asanoyama, especially Yu Takayama, who came up with Asanoyama. They are rivals. I actually think Yu Takayama's got a lot in him, and I think he will be gunning for Asanoyama, and there will be other guys that really, they want to take the spot. They either want to rise in the rankings, or there are several waiting in the wings that want to become the next Ozeki. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's going to have the weight of the world on his shoulders in a way that the Yokozunas don't have anymore. They know that they don't have it. He's the new guy that you want to beat up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he handles the sort of top of the heap pile. Beforehand, as you'd mentioned, it was his new Ozeki run. He had all that momentum going for him. Takayama was still sort of the head honcho because he was the existing Ozeki. Now he's up top. If both of the Yokozunas pull out, that means he is the highest ranked person on the dohyo. Yep. So all that's going to come down on him. And you can't help but feel that he felt a little bit of a sting that he was so close to that trophy last time and he didn't get it. So it would make a lot more, a lot of sense to think he wants it, he's going to be hungry for it, but at the same time...
Can he do it?
He needs to just deal with all this pressure.
Yeah, and he's still... I'm not completely convinced with him that he's worked out everything in his head. Because he did have some of those 3 losses were to guys he should have beat. So, I'll say the sting is a good thing. The sting gets you focused. The sting shows you, if I screw up, if I don't beat the guys I should beat, I'm not going to get where I want to get. If it's too easy, you'll flounder. So I think that could have been some of Goeido's issue. He probably had injuries we didn't know about also, but I think it's good to have the sting so that you work harder. You always need the next thing that kicks up your adrenaline to go through every tough guy in the entire tournament. You've got to have some extra jolt every time you get up there. So we'll see.
Eyes on him, I think, this tournament, particularly the first week or so. And then that'll dictate what happens after that.
Absolutely. Speaking of Takayama, I listened to, on YouTube, he's a great resource, Chris Sumo. And he does a lot of translating of interviews, which is something we wouldn't have access to if he didn't do it. And I was expecting when he translated Takayama's interviews that he'd be a little down and that he'd be concerned about the knee. Granted, in Japan, you don't talk about injuries per se, but you can always infer a tone, like somebody's down or whatever. Instead, he seemed positively chipper. It's probably because he's engaged to be married, and he seems to be very in love with his fiancée. And that could be sort of the jolt I was talking about. Asanoyama has the sting of defeat. Maybe something really positive in your personal life could also give you motivation in a tournament. So perhaps this is a good thing for Takayama he's got to fight for his wife-to-be and his Ozeki pride. But I still don't know that injury is healed. I am not convinced. I think that Takayama, he keeps it close to the chest, as many sumo wrestlers do, but you're seeing more and more guys who kind of come out and actually talk about their injuries or talk about their state of mind. Takayama always says generic things. He never alludes to injuries. It's very rare. I'm worried that a month is not enough time for that knee, and he might be riding the high of his personal life and maybe just saying everything's going to be fine. And we still might not get the Takayama that we had when he did the Ozeki run.
Motivation does take many forms, particularly in sumo. A lot of people will draw their inspiration from wherever they can get it. I tend to agree that a lot of the injury-prone people, which is unfortunately Takayama, may or may not be on their A game in September, which would be kind of interesting because they had 4 months in the July, and all the people who are sort of able to hollow themselves back together are going to be sort of falling apart again. Also, I think from a record standpoint, Takayama is in a very great place to sort of perform, as they always say, their own brand of sumo, because he's cleared his Kadoban, which was the big thing hanging over him in July, which means that all he really needs to do is just get out there and fight. He doesn't need to worry about losing his rank again. He doesn't need to worry about being top dog, though I can't help but imagine there's a little bit of a sting that he got rammed by. I think Takayama just has too much going on for that to really matter.
Yeah, I mean, he'll grow into his own. You know, I picture Hakuho when he first was in this position. He had a lot of pressure because he was, you know, the small guy from Mongolia, and Asashoryu was there, and he already had built-in rivalry. I don't know that Takayama is necessarily feeling that with anybody because the top dogs are gone. They're practically gone. And Asanoyama is so new to it. So I think he can just focus on his brand of sumo. And it's only a question of can he physically do it. The other thing I heard from Chris Sumo's video is that he gained 13 kilos. And we had talked at the last podcast that he could probably use to lose some weight. So I'm hoping that that's incidental, you know, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. A
lot of the stuff that they say in interviews, like you say, is keeping appearances, and there's sort of a script you have to follow. And for Takayama, every once in a while he'll say something off base, but for the most part, the best way to figure out what's going on with him is to see how he starts fighting.
And we'll be able to figure that out pretty quick. He's very telling in his sumo. So our next guy is Shoudai. Now Shoudai, it looks like if you add his wins in March and his wins in July, so March was 8 and July was 11, he needs 14 wins to the magic 33, which could put him at Ozeki. If you asked me about Shoudai a year and a half ago, I would have said Shoudai. Ozeki, Shoudai, I don't know about that. But I would always say, yes, he's a good fighter and there's something there in him. Because he would beat top dogs like it was nothing and then lose a whole bunch, and I just didn't understand that. It looks like he's finally focused. It looks like he's ready. He looks strong. And he's somebody I don't think will have an issue with the short tournament. The guys who aren't injured, they're going to be in better shape for a quick tournament. They're going to be ready. He's got to, you know, get out of his head with the 2 times he could have won a championship or been in the championship race. He can only go up from here, and I think he's somebody that is very glad that there wasn't a lot of time in between.
Yeah. It was almost surprising to realize that he's been sitting on top of Sakiwake for a little while now. As you had mentioned, Shoudai was always the guy who could have gotten it together, and he finally seems to have gotten it together. I think that when it comes for him putting together an Ozeki run, he's 2 tournaments out. The 14 wins means that on paper it's possible. I think if he wins the Yusho, they'll start talking about it.
Right.
I think that the more realistic goal for Shoudai is to put together 10 or more wins this tournament, and then come November, he'll be knocking the door down. It's with Shoudai, you sort of just like, I hope you can get those 10 wins, because he's really good when he's on, and the fact that he's been in Sakiwake for this long enough, I'm hoping this is the moment that he can just really start tearing a path, which have been like, whoa, where'd he come from? Yeah. All of a sudden he's Ozeki. What? But it's maybe.
If I was a new sumo fan like tomorrow, I would not know about Shoudai's past, and if I was watching today's Shoudai, I would be like, wow, look at this strong, tough guy. He's probably been like this forever, and he's probably been, you know, chasing Ozeki forever, instead of, you know, you're seeing a totally different Shoudai than you would have seen 2 years ago. And who knows, it could be something to do with the training itself. Not that I've heard anything about his training reports. So the next guy is Mitaki Umi, and I'm just so mixed on him. He is actually the one who's closest to putting up another Ozeki run. He only needs 12 wins to get the magic number. But we've been down this path with him twice. He's won 2 tournaments when we have previous Ozekis who haven't. Takayasu never won one. Goedo won 1. So here's a guy with all this potential and all this ability, and every time he gets close, it just falls apart.
I think if he wins this tournament, they'll make him Ozeki. But it's so hard for him to do anything when the pressure is on that heavy. He seems to thrive in the chaos.
Yeah.
So when there's no expectation or when it's sort of this grab bag, he does really good. But when people start looking at him, that being said, he did fall down to the rank and files and then make his way back up to Sekiwake.
Right.
So he's definitely has the consistent talent for it. It's just whether or not Mitaki Umi can dig in a little bit. It's going to be real interesting because a lot of people in this upper crust are going to be fighting like a man possessed. They're going to want this, specifically this tournament, to make their point, to make their statement. And it's whether or not Mitaki Umi can sort of push that much harder when in the past sometimes he sort of crumbled under this kind of pressure. I wouldn't mind seeing a third Ozeki. And on paper, Mitaki Umi has the strongest resume.
Yes.
It's just what's going to happen in those 15 days.
With, you have the upper crust, as you said, but you also have the lower guys, which, first of all, the lower guys keep winning the tournaments. But second of all, you've got young, tough guys who don't have a lot of injury, they don't have an injury history. And they're hungry and they're motivated. So you got to beat all the top guys who are in the top form. And then you got to beat all the young guys who you never fought before, who have nothing to lose. I hope he didn't miss out on his short window to become Ozeki. But you never know. It's such chaos with the Yokozunas, with COVID, with everything. Anything is possible.
Anything's possible.
So we go to our next guy, Daisho, who happens to be good friends with Takakeisho. It's interesting. He is also in a position to do an Ozeki run. As John had said with Shoudai, probably 2 tournaments. So he also needs 14 wins to 33. Daisho has been a sleeper for a long time. He's very strong, he's tricky, and he has beaten Yokozuna opponents. I think he's just been waiting for his moment as well. I don't know enough about, he hasn't been in this territory for very long. Mitaki Umi, we've seen a lot from him. We haven't seen a lot from Daisho in this position. So I don't know. And I think every guy in the upper crust has to ask themselves the same question. What motivates me to be the top guy? For every single person, it's going to be something different. What is Daisho's motivation? Is he chasing after somebody specific? Is he just chasing after a rank? Is he just trying to be the tough top dog? I don't know about Daisho, so I think we'll learn that through his fighting also.
I'm very curious to see how this tournament goes specifically for Daisho. The fact that they gave him the second Sekiwake rank means that they're realizing this guy's means business. Mm-hmm. And they don't usually make these extra Sanyaku ranks.
No. And
also, what normally happens, at least for the limited amount of time that I've been watching the sport, is invariably when you make these second Kamosubi or these second Sekiwake slots for somebody, they just fall apart under the pressure.
Yep.
But Daisho, there's something about him, he's just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go. And he seems that he's just had the tough luck, or he's just everyone else is just a little bit better. But if he's going to get this momentum going, I kind of want to wonder if he's going to be the guy of all these people. So it's like, on paper, Mitaki Umi has the strongest resume, but in my heart, I'm going for Daisho for the third Ozeki. And maybe Shoudai will finally get his act together, and those random losses that he has are just going to throw away. Maybe Mitaki Umi will finally get that gumption, and whatever causes that crumble, he'll finally shore it up. But my money's on Daisho. This is from the gut. This is my I love Ikigoi kind of a thing going on here. But he just fights so well, and I think he was the guy who knocked down Hakuho last tournament first time.
Yes.
And so it's just like he's got, like you said, he's got that god killer kind of talent.
He's got the grit, too. He'll slap you into oblivion. Like, he doesn't seem to hesitate at all.
No.
And I think I agree with you that if somebody was going to do it, it'll be him. Barring things like outside factors, like injury or really bad luck. But if you're a top guy, you make your own luck.
You do.
So, we'll see, Daisho. Next is Endo. Now, he's in Komusubi, up from Maegashira 1 East. 8-7 record. I don't know what to say about Endo anymore. He's a very popular guy. The ladies love him. He's popular with everybody. He does a terrible interview. He has been in this position back and forth, back and forth. He's an enigma. I can't even point to something that would tell me what's going on with him because he doesn't talk about it in the interviews. And I can't see it in his fighting. He was I think he was a Yokozuna in college. So he's Mr. Tactician. He's got all the skills there, but it's not coming together. And I don't think it's the same thing as Mitaki Umi. I think I don't know what it is. But my guess would be there's some sort of not wanting it hard enough. I don't know.
It feels like this is sort of where Endo is going to be. He's going to be the top of Megashira, the bottom of Sanyaku, and it's because he's got that raw talent and that strength. And there are people like this. There are people that'll be like Tamawashi that they'll never get to Ozeki. This doesn't mean they're bad. It just means because once you hit that level, it's like there's that little extra, that hunger, that near like manic craze that you need to break that crust. And this doesn't mean that he's a lesser of a sumo wrestler for not having it. But I think that we're going to see Endo be here in this top 5 Megashira, dipping in and out of Sanyaku here. You're like, that is going to be his brand.
Yeah. And
he's going to be sort of like this gatekeeper for people coming up. And also, he's going to play the foil during tournaments. I remember he had Tochinoshin's number when Tochinoshin was on his Ozeki run.
Yes, he did.
And so, like, that is the Endo brand.
And maybe that is what he wants. I mean, not everybody wants to be Yokozuna. I mean, you would assume they do. But in your heart of hearts, maybe that's not the case. Maybe he just wants to be a top sumo wrestler, you know, go through the years, do his part, retire, get the elder stock, train some other people. Nothing wrong with that.
It's solid, and these are still the top 42 sumo wrestlers in the world.
Exactly, and he's stable. If anything else, he's stable.
Yes.
So, I don't know. We'll never know about Endo, because he'll never tell us. Oh, and I skipped over Okinomi to Komusubi East. Komusubi 1 East. He is not in contention, but notable mention that he did have 8 wins in March and 9 wins in July. He's an older guy at the end of his sumo career. Who knows? You know, he could have a great tournament. He could push for Ozeki. He could make Ozeki and then retire. That could be a goal if you're up in age like that, where your career is on the downward slope instead of the upward slope. Either way, I'm sure he's having fun being in the Sanyaku and fighting the tough guys and being in the conversation.
Yeah. It's always fun to see these guys in the tail end that you've gotten used to them being mid-range rank and file, and then they just go on this tear. And usually when this happens, or just when anybody goes from career Megashira or just Ben Megashira, and then they dip into that Sanyaku, they just get spiked back down. But he won. He got his Kachikoshi in Komusubi.
Yeah.
So that, like, honestly, for any Okinomi fan, you're just like, yes!
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be that feeling. And he's got, like you said, he's got to be loving every second of this. When you reach that point, it's just like anytime you get anything this solid, this big, you got to feel really good about yourself.
Yeah, it's that trajectory that we talk about. Like, if you're a young guy and you get success early, now your whole career is marked by, I gotta drive, I gotta stay. If you're an older guy who's been in and out, you know, sort of in the middle line, and now at the end of your career, you're starting to get success, what a great way to go out. In some ways, it might be the best way to have a sumo career. Because Hakuho sure, he'll be the greatest of all time, and I don't think he would change a thing.
No.
But let's look at all the pressure that he's been under since, he became Yokozuna at 22, 21, something like that. He's had the pressure his entire career. Not everybody would necessarily want that. So, I hope he's having a blast. I want to see him just rise, and do whatever he's got to do until it's over. So, the next one is our big name guy, Taran Fuji, who came up from the dregs of the bottom to rise up and back into the upper ranks and win the whole tournament at Maegashira 17. This is now becoming a trend. I don't know why. But this did not surprise me. They had been talking about Taran Fuji for a while. Some guys are just so talented that the only thing that's going to stop him is an injury. So if you can overcome your injury, you're going to come back in and you're going to be the guy you were. He's still quite taped up. So how long can he pull it out? I don't know. But I think he's going to be competitive. I think he's going to make life hard for everybody. I think he's super talented. I don't know about winning another Yusho, but I think he's going to make things very interesting.
Seeing him come from nothing and then do back-to-back tournament wins, I think that would just blow my mind.
That would be amazing.
I would. Just from the narrative perspective, I think that's going to be pretty solid. Also, my mind, everything about this is everybody gunning for the top seats. And here comes Taran Fuji, who goes up from Maegashira 17 to Maegashira 1. I can't help but everybody involved was just like, this guy used to be Ozeki before. He's going back.
Yeah.
So I didn't put in the prior calculations for him because I have a feeling that they're not even going to consider you for Ozeki until
2 tournament wins.
Until you're in the upper ranks.
Yeah.
But I can't help but feel that if Taran Fuji does really well this tournament, that they'll be like, hey, maybe he'll be Ozeki. And again, this plays into the sort of the public narrative of this desperation to get the next era going. Yeah. So I'm sort of buying into this hype just because, again, this is the kind of stuff that just makes this sport so fun.
Oh,
it's
yes.
just like, boosh, out of nowhere comes the big splash. He's going to be fun to watch now. It's sort of, this is just inevitably what happens. Everybody's going to want to be following the guy who won it before. And this time's no different, but this time is super fun. Because up until now, like we're talking about all the Shoudais, the Mitaki Umi, Daisho, like are they gonna reach Ozeki? Sort of you wonder, do they have the gumption? Like, this guy's Ben.
Yeah.
So
he could just do it and forget everybody else. Like, okay, guys, you're just playing around. I'm actually gonna do it.
On one hand, like you mentioned, the taped up, the injuries, they can come back to haunt him. Maybe he needs a little bit more time. We'll see. We don't know. And on the other hand, with everybody else, you're like, you don't know if they'll ever get to Ozeki. Yeah. For him, in a way, it's a foregone conclusion.
If he didn't get injured, he would be up there with the Yokozunas. So, what's interesting is, in interviews with him, he's very tame, and I imagine that pre-injury Taran Fuji was not. I picture he was, like a Hakuho, like, I'm here, I'm going to win it. His tameness right now might work to his advantage, because he doesn't have any expectations. The goal for so long has been just to get back up to the upper ranks and feel that. Now you win a Yusho, he doesn't have to prove anything.
Nope.
Which means he might prove everything. And meanwhile, he has been cited as the #1 inspiration for former Ozeki.
Yes.
Takayasu, which we'll get to, he's pumped up about Taran Fuji. Kodoshogiku was pumped up about Taran Fuji. Here's 2 ex-Ozeki still around. Kodoshogiku at the end, but he's chasing records. He wants to keep going. And Takayasu, we'll get to him, but they keep talking about how inspirational it was for Taran Fuji to do what he did. So he's already made a splash. If he does nothing else, he's already made a huge impact in sumo, and it's awesome. It really is awesome.
So much to look forward to, and we're not even halfway down the list.
Yeah. So the next is Takanosho. He's one of the younger guys. He is now Maegashira 1 West, up from Maegashira 2 East. He had an 8-7 record. He's going to be somebody he's very untested. So he's going to be somebody who either really dazzles us and surprises us, or he's going to be somebody who just, this might be the tournament that he gets knocked down a bunch of ranks. It might be the tournament where he surprises everybody. He's just so untested right now that I don't have much of a guess as to what he's going to do.
The good news for him is that he was in that 1-5 Mega Share, what I call the meat grinder, and he got his winning score.
Yes.
In last records, everybody up top was doing really well. So he was able to sort of hold his own. He has sort of a long road ahead of him because the Sanyaku is going to be a logjam for the next year.
Yeah.
And so he's going to be in this unenviable position. This is sort of what happened to Hakuho Fuji, that he's doing well, he's winning tournaments, but there's simply no room for him in Sanyaku.
Right.
And so for Takanosho, he basically needs to wait for somebody to fall. He has to wait for somebody to fall, not fall himself, and just try to sort of hold the line. And he's got good talent. He's hungry. He's strong. He's young. So I'm not too concerned about him if he sort of has to get these like little half-rung wins and then sort of falls down 4 to 5 ranks when it all falls apart, because he'll be here long enough. The top will eventually clear itself out when people either go up to Ozeki or they crumble again.
Right.
For now, though, he's good sumo. He's that strong, hungry competition you were mentioning earlier that everybody up top has to contend with.
And he might steal a couple. He might steal a couple of things from people. He might be the X factor that nobody's considering when they're going for the tournament. He's just kind of going to be there, and we're going to see what kind of impact that he makes. So the next is your boy Hakuho Fuji.
My boy.
He's definitely been battling injuries. I mean, you see all the tape. I don't know how bad the injuries are, but they don't seem to... He doesn't show it. He's not an Ikiyoi who's like limping off the dohyo when he's done. But I'm sure that slowed him down. His career probably would have looked very different. He's an Endo in the sense that he's always kind of in the upper Maegashira. He was in Sanyaku briefly. I don't see any reason why he's going to do any better.
No, this is something that I'm slowly coming to the realization to, which hurts me dearly. Because, with Endo, again, tactician, as you'd mentioned before, really good sumo. He has the potential to knock anybody out at any given day. But there's a consistency that's not there. And when the pressure starts building on Endo, he sort of just falls apart. With Hakuho Fuji, every fight for him is a battle to the death. Yes. It feels like he so rarely phones it in. And so that's one of the reasons I really like him. And it sort of hurts to notice that he still needs a little bit more, because at this level, people sort of know his deal and they're able to counter him. And so all the fighting spirit in the world is just not doing it for him. And on one hand, like Endo, they're just so much fun to watch. You kind of don't mind that if this is his lot in life, is to sort of make glancing eyes at Sanyaku while being up in the top 5. It's just like, I'm just holding out hope. My hope's not dead for him. Yeah. So where I'm really looking forward to some other people, I look at him just like, please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me.
Well, it's funny. If we were playing a fighting video game, and boy, would it be awesome if there was a sumo fighting game, Hakuho Fuji is the character I'd pick. Mm-hmm. Just rush in, attack, and hope nobody parries you, hope nobody trips you. So, for his sake, it's unfortunate, but he is fun. He is the best. He is Psyduck.
He's Psyduck.
So Tamawashi, up from Maegashira 9 East, now to Maegashira 2 West. He's 37 at this point. I don't know how much more he'll fight. Doesn't seem to have injury issues. I believe Tamawashi has never missed...
He's on a streak.
Yeah, he's never missed a tournament. So, he's Mr. Stable. He could probably wrestle to 42 if he wanted to, as long as he never gets injured. He breaks enough people's elbows.
He's the injurer, not the injury.
That might be the reason he doesn't get injured, is people don't want to get too close. So, I think he's just going to kind of do this, be Maegashira, upper Maegashira, drop down, go back and forth until he said, I'm done.
Yeah, he's good. He had his moment of glory. He won the tournament.
Yes.
He had, didn't he win his tournament, when his kid was born, too?
Yes, he did.
It was some, like, that's the moment that, like, he'll be 50 years from now.
And we'll never forget
he
that.
will never forget how he felt in that moment. And so, like, for that, I'm just like, good on you, Tamawasi. Good for fighting when we're not ragging on him for breaking elbows.
We just don't break our favorite guy's elbows. I mean, I don't really want you to break anybody's elbows, but, if I see Takayasu get in there, I'm like, oh, no. Don't break an elbow!
It'll be fun. Fun to watch, as always. And really, for somebody like him, he is in that perfect position, like Okinomi, that it just, every tournament that you're in there, he's just having fun. Any win he gets is his to take.
Yes. And
wouldn't mind seeing him for as long as he's in there. It'd be good to see if he Cal Ripkins it and just gets those top records.
Yeah. Well, it's, he might be Taran Fuji's future.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like post you show in. You just kind of...
Just chill.
Just chill, do your thing, enjoy it. Miyogiru. So didn't he fall into Juryo?
That's Meisei.
No, I know Meisei did. Miyogiru is one of the elder statesmen. No, maybe it wasn't Miyogiru. It was a guy who just retired. Tochiozan. Sorry. So all the Miyogiru fans. So he's an elder statesman. There's not much to say beyond he's strong enough to take anybody any day of the week. But he's older. And I don't know what his career aspirations are at this point. I don't know if he wants to just kind of hang out where he's at. I could see him doing these bounces from high Magashira to lower Magashira, back and forth until he retires. One important thing, though, is... guys like Miyogiru, if you're in your stable, you're a great training partner for anybody who's coming up. So there's more at stake than just your individual career, especially in a collective society like Japan. It might be worth it to stay in shape just so you can be that tough guy that gets the rest of your team to where they gotta go. So, not really sure, but it's kind of my perspective on him.
A lot of the people in this top 5 are going to have similar problems in that the people who are coming up have to sort of hold their own for long enough that they can keep going higher, and the people who are either on the way down. Now, he did have a 10-5 record. He's on the way up. It could just be that he gets knocked back down again. Maybe he's going to make another push. Definitely going to be somebody to watch. Definitely somebody who has the potential to play the foil. And going to be some good sumo to see him in it.
Yeah. A staple at this point.
Yes.
Teruyoshi, Mr. I don't know, badass of sumo. Is he the one who's like channeling Abi, except he gets away with being a badass?
Maybe.
I don't know. Everybody enjoys the salt throws, obviously. But he's got an edge to him that is fascinating to watch. He's got that little bit of... It's almost on the edge of being wrong. Like... I'm going to, hanka you, which, no one's a big fan of hankas, but I'm going to get this win no matter what, and then I'm going to celebrate after, which you don't do. Or I'm going to pick a fight with you like it did with Oyama, and he's got that intense face. So he's just somebody who's like a razor edge kind of guy, and you never know what you're going to get. He could get a little dirty. He could, just do... He's a small guy, but he's strong. He could just do, the fancy small guy sumo. He's capable of anything, and it makes it exciting to watch him, although I think some people hate him.
Yeah, he's the bad boy now. And for me, he's sort of a success story because Teruyoshi was one of the people who came in when we were there already.
Yeah.
So we see him come into the top 42. And we're like, what's this guy got to do? He does the salt throat thing. You're like, oh, that's pretty cool. But like now he's in.
Yes.
He is in the top. He's one of the top dogs. And now he's making Shira 3, which is really fun to watch. So now, well, first off, he's going to, probably get flattened a little bit by all those really hungry Sanyaku.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
A lot of them. If he goes up against Takayasu, you can throw all the salt you want. You may end up in low Earth orbit by the end of the day. That being said, he plays dirty, so better watch yourself.
And I think you have to think twice when you're going against him. It's like he could pull off something that's legal, but not good. And you don't want to look foolish going against him because of that. So, he's there might be some guys that are like, I'll just swat that little fly. I know what his game is, and they have no fear at all. But I would feel like somebody's going to be at least like, I got to go up against him, huh?
I'm not looking at him to go much higher yet, but this is him dipping his toe in that water. It's going to be fun. Maybe in a couple of years, he'll be up there in contention like everyone else, causing a scene. Also, his friend Taran Fuji is in there with him. I don't think the two will fight because they're in the same Heya, but it'll be there.
There's some motivation.
There's some cross motivation there.
Maybe Taran Fuji starts focusing a little bit more on Tsuyoshi, and he's like, I'm doing my thing, but let me show you some things you can do. So you kind of come in as a pair in some ways. When you come in with the stable with 2 top-ranked guys or 3 top-ranked guys, you can kind of do strategies and gameplay, and
it's going to be
interesting.
Potential.
Oh, yeah. So the next guy is one of my favorites, and I'm rooting for him. It's Takayama. So he did go down from Maegashira 1 West down to Maegashira 4 East with a 5-10 record. It was not a good tournament.
He did not have a good time of it.
But I feel that there is so much potential. He's very strong. He's very skilled. It was about a year or two where he was rising up, and then he did get injured. I don't know if that's the reason he's had this fall from grace. But there's so much potential in there to be a top-level guy that whatever is stopping him, whether it's injury, whether it's, perhaps there's a self-esteem issue now or whatever's going on, I'm going to keep rooting for him. I have no expectation. I don't know what he's going to do. I just know that he has the ability, and I really hope he does. He sees Asanoyama as a personal rival because they came in at the same time. So he does have his fixation point of where he wants to head. But can he do it? I don't know enough about what's going on with him to know if he's capable. But he's got some tools in there that if everything aligns, he could be a top guy. He could take on anybody.
Yeah, I'm hoping specifically for him and a few people in his same situation that the weirdness of the last boss show sort of got to him.
Yeah.
Like there are a couple of people that normally have it all together and they sort of fell apart. Also, last tournament, everybody in the top ranks did well. So
other factor,
the thing is that if somebody's going to be winning 12, 11, 13, someone's got to be losing those matches too.
That's
and
right.
Takayama was just on the wrong end of those matches. So maybe this is going to be his chance to regroup and get back up in there. I like you. You sort of want that narrative to play out that this because he was in there with all the other people who are in Sanyaku now, and it's like part of it's just like you don't want him to get left behind. Like you don't want him to be the Yamcha who sort of just gets dusted while everybody else keeps powering up.
Yeah, he had like a cool moment for a while, and then it's like, oh, it's Yamcha. No. We don't want that for you, Takayama.
Now he's like all the other people. He's young, he's hungry. So even if this isn't his moment, it doesn't mean it's not going to come. And
no one will have their eyes on him.
No,
they're all worried about each other, and they're all going for different things. And it's still a chaos does exist. There is still a chaos. A lot of these guys don't have people to train with. They're not going to other stables to train with, say, you Takayama. So in a way, people don't know if you learned a new skill or you have this defect, they're not going to know when you go into the tournament as well as they would have if things were normal.
He's the dark horse pick, I think, for the upper crust.
It would be great. I mean, if we can have, Maegashira 16s and 17s when you shows, why can't we have a guy, who's Maegashira 4 East come in and just blow everybody out of the water because they're too busy worrying about this guy and that guy. So, you never know. Our next guy is pretty much everybody's favorite guy. There might be some people who don't like him. I don't know who they are. They're terrible people. Just kidding. Nobody's terrible. But Tochi no Shin. So, a year ago, saying he's Maegashira 4 West would have been like, oh my god, he's Maegashira 4 West. Now, it's a great thing because he was down in Maegashira 11 West, and I was worried that he was just going to fall. And he's not getting better. We all know this. He's not going to get better. His knee is shot. The only thing that could salvage his knee for life is getting surgery and never fighting again. Obviously, he's got some reason he wants to stay in sumo, and my guess is it's just that he loves sumo. Mm-hmm. Because what I heard is he intends to go back to Georgia. He's not looking for the elder stock. He's not looking to train people in Japan. He's looking to go home when this is all done. He has a new child at home who's not a new child anymore. She's like 2 years old, and he never gets to see her. He never gets to see his wife. He's a huge celebrity in Georgia, and I think his goals are to build his own sumo training there to get Georgians over to Japan. So the only reason he's still in it, there could be a money factor, but he loves sumo.
Love the game.
Yeah. And so he's going to go until his leg is just dangling on the dohyo, and none of us want to see this.
No. Well, that's probably what it's going to end up being.
Yeah.
He's at the rank he's at. I kind of expect him to be fodder, unfortunately. I don't like saying this.
It's so painful.
It's taken me a while to realize that the Ozeki Tochinoshin is just not going to come back. And so it's really just a matter of how well he can tape himself together. I wouldn't mind being proven wrong on this one, honestly.
Oh, I want to be proven wrong.
He had a couple of lift and shifts that he was able to drag people out of it in the last tournament, but it wasn't the same gusto. No. It's basically with Tochinoshin, it's just like enjoy it while you can because it's not going to be here for long. And him being at Megashira 4 means that we've got at least another 3 tournaments out of him.
True.
Unless he just
says I'm done.
Which is, I mean, that's on the table for anybody.
It is, but especially someone who's injured like him.
Following like the traditional pattern of staying in it until you're no longer salaried. If that applies for Tochinoshin, then
we got a couple of
him at Megashira 4 is kind of a good sign if you want to keep watching him fight. You just hope that he doesn't break his leg in half while he's up there.
I know, and see some horrible injury that we never want to see.
Slight cringe, but at the same time, it's like any day that there's a Tochinoshin match is a good day.
Yes. And there's a couple of things I want to say about him. One is you'll probably never get another guy like him. The way his physical presence, his passion, because most of these Japanese guys are very, very passionate, but they don't show it. I hear Tochinoshin's in the back breaking stuff, He's from Georgia, he's got that fire. He's, in the bathroom swearing and everybody's just staying away from him. And you can tell how much he cares, but yet I watched an interview with him in Georgia where they asked him to break a vodka glass. And he's like, no, I don't think we should break anything. So he's just all around fascinating as a person, as a wrestler. You can feel his passion. He's the guy you'd root for all day long. And I hope we have those 3 tournaments or more, In an alternate reality, we have Yokozuna Tochinoshin flinging people out of the ring. And some days I'd like to just sit back and imagine that.
Imagine that life.
That would be a good life. Kiribayama. So he fell a little bit. He's Megashira 5 East. He was Megashira 3 West. He's just trying to get his footing. He's a young guy. He's got things to prove, but at the same time, I don't know if he's got pressure to prove anything. I think he just needs to get fights under his belt, get some experience, learn how these guys work. Take your time. Don't worry. You've got the skills. You've got the body. I give it a year or so before we start seeing really spectacular things from him because there is the logjam, there is the chaos. I think he should just focus on winning, and that's it.
He's going to be a good person in the future. Still good now, a little bit rough around the edges. He's the kind of person that if he comes out with something out of left field, no one's going to see it coming.
Yeah, which, we're always looking for that.
Always looking for more chaos here.
Taran Fuji, personal favorite. There's nothing more to say than he's a middle-of-the-road guy, and that's where he's going to stay. He seems comfortable. Yeah. He doesn't seem like the type who's like, I got to get higher. He's just going to hang out there until he's done. And he could go a long time, too. He doesn't seem like he's injured often. He can be a Yokozuna. It's not likely, but he's fought them all 20 times at this point. So he's a character guy, like we explained last time. It's just fun. It's Taran Fuji. When I was playing Kingdom Hearts 1 over, I named the raft Taran Fuji. So I use him in my naming elements. I think we also named Persona 5's main character Taran Fuji, when you could pick that. So he's just kind of my name. I just throw him out there because he's fun. It's a fun name, and he's a cool guy. And I hope to see him for as many tournaments as he wants to be there.
Yeah, he'll be fun. He'll be testing the new people coming up, and later on down the list, we'll be talking about some of them. And he's just, more Taran Fuji, please. Thank you, sir. May I have another?
That's right. The next guy is Takayasu. So Takayasu, I was worried that he would be Tochinoshin. There's no chance he's ever getting back to Ozeki. That may still be the case. But what I will say is, he's got some new exciting news in his life, and at least in the interview, it seemed like he's happy. And he's positive, like he's gonna shoot for this. He's the slow walk. The slow walk haunts my nightmares.
God, that is
when he lost his Ozeki rank, and just all of that time was very sad. When he didn't get the Yusho that he should have gotten, that whole period is a dark period for Takayasu, and all I remember day after day was that sad face and that slow walk. I would like to see that change.
Yeah, I think Takayasu has had some of the most heartbreaking moments. There was that one time, this is before that, he lost the match, and the camera like zooms in on his face while he's doing that, like, so Takayasu's like, he's just like this pathos character. And we gave him and Goedo lumps back when they were the part-time Ozekis, and I think, like we mentioned before, he's getting his second wind. Seeing Taran Fuji just tear things up has to have gotten a spark back in him.
Yes.
It's the happy story to see him come back a little bit. I don't know if he'll make Ozeki again, but just seeing him when he's in full bear form and just mauling people, that's some good sumo. And if we can get that again, maybe he will make a second run at it.
I think for him, even if he never hits Ozeki again, he's got to win a Yusho.
Yes.
For his sanity, he needs to win a Yusho. He was Ozeki all the time and never won one. And now you have all these, lower ranked guys or guys who were Ozeki winning Yushos. He's got to win a Yusho. So his rank doesn't matter as much as bringing home the title, which is an interesting concept because in American sports, the ranking matters, like in tennis. There are not a lot of Americans in tennis comparatively to other countries. But usually it's all about winning the trophy. Mm-hmm. And in this case, break from the rank, win the trophy. We now know the ranking doesn't mean what it used to mean. It doesn't matter if you're 17 or 16. You have these Ozekis who just lose over and over and over again, and they're the ones who are supposed to win. There is no supposed to anymore. You can just win tournaments, and that's what you're going to do.
Before the new dynasty sets in.
That's right. And there's never going to be another Hakuho.
No.
If there is, that's 50 years down the line, and it's another magical unicorn. Sumo will be forever changed because of him and after him. So I think it's going to be wide open forever. I don't think... They could prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong if you want. I don't see Asanoyama, Takakeisho, Shoudai, Mitaki Umi, Daisho, any of them being a Hakuho. Be a Yokozuna, fine. Be an Ozeki, fine. None of you are Hakuho. Never will be. There's nobody that I've seen so far that even... that young guy looks like he could be the next Hakuho. I don't see it. So that means anybody could be going for that as well. And for him, he needs a Yusho. And that's what I'm going to root for. Just win the Yusho.
Maybe not. Maybe he gets it this time. Maybe he gets it next time.
Yeah.
No rush, Takayasu. Just keep that positive energy.
Right. Right now, he has a new child coming. And, that's always a motivator for these sumo guys. I got to win for the next generation. So, we wish you luck. It's always possible. Do it.
Do it.
Just do it. So, the next is Kagayaki. He's down from Maegashira 4 East to Maegashira 6 West. I always kind of shrug my shoulders when it comes to Kagayaki. I don't understand him. I don't know where he's coming from. He doesn't have a strong character presence. I know that he can beat people, but I don't get a vibe from him to be able to tell you what he's going to do besides stay exactly where he's at.
He was another victim of the super strong upper crust, too, because he was Megashira 4, and sort of like with Takayama, someone's got to lose those 10,
That's
12
right.
win matches. So, I mean, we have the story when it comes to Takayama, just because he's been vocal about all that stuff. I don't have that story for Kagayaki. It's probably out there somewhere. We just got to go find it.
Right. He might be just hidden in the internet somewhere. Like, maybe there is a story that we just don't know. He was also a stablemate of Shoboshi, but I don't know that he worked so closely with him as Ryuden. But that doesn't mean it wouldn't have an impact on you mentally.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody's going to be down and just different, and so that could have played a factor in this last tournament anyway. But still, I've yet to see something from him that tells me anything.
We'll see. Keep an eye on him.
Keep an eye.
Put a pin in this.
Sure. I'd be anybody in these lists can come up and do something amazing, and I'll be like, yes. Thank you. So the next guy is Ryuden. He's such an emotional pick in so many ways. He's another one of those guys that went all the way down with an injury, comes all the way back up, gets into Sanyaku, but he just can't quite stay up there. And now we know that he has the heavy heart from losing his stablemate. How long does that affect you? Does it affect you positively? Does it affect you negatively? It depends on who you are. And Ryuden just kind of... It always feels like he has the weight of the world on his shoulders, and the reason I say that is how he carries himself in the ring. When I look at him, he seems to be sort of hanging his head low. Maybe that's a Japanese thing, out of respect. But just looking at him from my outsider perspective, he always seems like he's carrying a burden. And I don't know if that's true or not. Speculation. So, I don't know. I don't know if this is the end for him in terms of upward trajectory. If he's just going to hang out in the middle. He's got the drive. He's got the fire. Don't know if he's got the tools. He
was sort of on the way down already prior to the everything that's been happening. I sort of wanted to I'm going to give him a couple of bashos to sort of just get it together. So last basho, having 7 and 8, it's not the worst thing that could have come out of it. He could have completely fallen apart.
Yeah.
So this tournament, I just hope he gets some of his sumo back, get a winning score. The next tournament, sure, but then after that, we'll be able to see the pattern. This is what the grieving process. Post-grieving Ryuden, post-peak Ryuden's going to be like. So I'm gonna leave the jury out on him.
Yeah.
It'll be good to see him make another run for it. I don't know how this particular story is going to end.
Yeah, there's no guessing with him.
No guessing.
The next one is your other guy, Oyama. He's down from Megashira 4 West, but he's like, you lump him in with the Taran Fujis and the Kagayakis. He's got some ability to be in that top thing, but I just think there's too many guys that are tougher than him.
This is also typical yo-yoing. He did well enough in the last tournament to get a higher rank, put him in the higher rank, put him in with the top crust knocks him back down. Seeing him between 6 and 10 is sort of like where his focus is.
Yeah. So
I expect him to do better this tournament, slap some unsuspecting fool out of the ring. It'd be good to see.
He's got fire. I will not forget him and Teruyoshi, we're about to just go to fists. So, he's very unpredictable in that sense, that fiery temper. So it's exciting to watch him. Mm-hmm. And obviously he looks like nobody else in the tournament.
Nobody else.
He could be a video game character also.
Yeah.
Somebody get on this. Somebody who makes video games, talk to Japan, and make a sumo fighting game, because we're all going to buy it.
We're going to buy it. Yeah, I'll keep my eye on him. He's a good guy to watch. He'll be fun. I don't expect glory, but I don't need glory because I already have Aoyama.
That's right. Tokushoryu, we all know he was the second guy. Tamawashi wasn't ranked as low as him, but he was the second guy to, pull out a tournament whoa. But he was the lowest ranking until Taran Fuji. This is another future guy. This is what it looks like on the other end when you've won the Yusho surprise Everybody fell in love with him. His heart was right out there on his sleeve, which you never ever see in these interviews. And, you know, he's going to ride out into the sunset at some point. 7-8 record, Maegashira 8 East, he can hang around for a little bit. I can't help but think that he's just waiting it out until it's like, this just doesn't feel right to be here anymore. And then it's just, he's going to pull the trigger quick. Mm-hmm. I don't see necessarily these big goals. He's done it. He's won the Yusho. What's left is how much you enjoy the sport.
Yeah, more or less the same thoughts. He's fun to watch. He had his moment, and now it's just waiting until he rides out into the sunset. I wouldn't mind him sticking around longer.
Yeah.
And he's still got it. I think he's got at least another year left in him.
He can play spoiler all day long.
All day. Get him to the ropes and then watch out. Watch out!
Don't get overeager.
No, he will throw you.
His concentration is pretty there. So, you know, you think you got him, you know, you're flexing, and he just throws you out, and you're like, and now I'm not going to win the tournament. Great. Wakataka Kage. My favorite name. He hasn't been around enough to know, and he unfortunately got injured right away. So the jury's out on him, but he did get a 10-5 record, so that would suggest to us he's a tough guy, and he's going to do well. I
am looking forward to seeing him. He was like, he turned the ankle, or just like, dang it. And then...
Don't be Tomokaze.
No, God. Forever in our hearts. He'll be back. Give us 2 years of pining, and she will be back right where he belongs. But Wakataka Kage is going to be one of those hot guns, and he's sort of like Kiribayama in that he's new and he's fresh, but he's still riding that momentum. And at Megashira 8, that's just low enough that it can keep tearing it up.
Right, and he's not going to fight every top guy, so if he just stays stable, does his thing, yeah, he could be challenging for Yushos.
Yeah, I have high hopes for him this tournament because he's right now he's at the spot where he's going to start hitting that higher rank, but not to the point that it's going to knock him back down. So this is going to be like his moment to show I'm going to get in contention.
Yes.
Or not. We'll see. It'll be fun. But he's the new hotness. Well, actually, strictly speaking, this tournament, he's no longer the new hotness, but he's the rising star like a few of these other people.
Exactly.
And he's proven that he's not just the flash in the pan because he came in, he got injured, and then he fought his way back up, which is like, he's going somewhere.
Exactly. And maybe people who haven't been watching sumo as long as... I haven't been watching it this long. I saw a video of this. Hakuho actually got injured as an Ozeki right away. And he had to deal with that. Oof. He had to deal with Kataban status right away. And now look at him. Didn't matter. Grand scheme of things, what injury? You know, that could be Wakataka Kage. Oh, I turned my ankle? When did that happen? You know, I've always been great. You know, so we'll look forward to that. The next is everybody's favorite, Mighty Mouse, Enho, Maegashira 9 East. Now, when he first came in, that would be Maegashira 9 East. Now it's a fall.
It's a fall.
And
step back.
There's a lot to talk about with him. First of all, he really thrived on the crowd, and the crowd is no longer a thing anymore. Even with the 2,500 people, it's got to feel weird. The whole Enho world, the way he gets his adrenaline, it's gone. So take that away. Okay, now what? Now I'm wrestling these big guys, and they're just more new guys coming up, and they're small. There's a lot of small wrestlers coming up that can do the same thing he can do, and they're bigger than him. So Enho, no question, is very talented. I'm not writing him off. But what I'm saying is he's in dangerous territory because the higher level guys have figured it out. The lower level guys play the same game as him, and his stablemate is Hakuho. And I think that pressure, it brought him to where he is, but now it can have a negative impact. Like, there's only so much of being with the top guy can spurn you on before now it's a detriment. And I see confidence issues with Enho right now.
He's in a... So, definitely taking the step back. When we were watching him, he was constantly going up. Whenever he would fall down, it would then be followed up with a regrouping. But this time, he's fallen and he's fallen again. But in a way, it's sort of good for him because it takes the shine off.
Yeah.
So now... This rank right here is actually really perfect because if he does well this tournament, then he'll be right back on the track. Everybody will be like, here we go, Enho. If he does terrible, he still has 2 to 3 tournaments before he's back in Juryo.
Right.
So he's sort of in this... Now, again, I can't imagine being Enho, and every time you lose, you go back home and there's Hakuho crossing his arms, making fun of you. So that's always going to be there. Now, towards your point, that's probably the pressure that got him this high, and that pressure's probably working on him now that his mojo isn't there. But for Enho, he's sort of in this great position that he can succeed or fail, and he can spin it to whatever he wants to be.
He can. And that makes this tournament absolutely critical for him to just don't flail. Do your... Like, I'm going to actually say what they say. Do your brand of sumo, but do it better than anybody else. Okay? Because of how small he is and because of the hype that he got, he has to be perfect. In every match, he has to be perfect to keep himself from being crushed, but also to actually win the match. He doesn't have the strength, you see with Takayama in the one fight where he hurt his knee, he did lift somebody out of the ring. It's something he should never do, but he could. Endo has nothing as a backup. He needs to not flail. He needs to not go in too low where they can slap him down or pick him up and power drive him, Yeah. He just needs to be focused, and he has to do all those cliche things. One match at a time, one day at a time, my brand of sumo, and drown everything else out, including his buddy Hakuho, who's going to be waiting with the stick, especially if he's not in the tournament. He's got more time to focus on him.
Yeah.
Drown it all out, buddy, and just do what you do.
Yeah. I think this is his moment to shine. It's his moment to fall apart. He does still have those mulligans in the bank, so it's not going to be the end of the day. But this is, Enho's time to plant feet. Yeah. But I'm not worried about him long term. It's just short term, he needs the momentum back.
Right, he needs to just make a course correction somewhere. Yeah.
And maybe, we hope it'll be this tournament. He's sort of in the perfect position to make it this tournament. If he ends up going down into 10 or 11s because he loses his tournament, it's starting to get a little bit more dangerous, but at the same time, he's still got that time.
Right, and you know what? He could even do steady state, get an 8-7 record, stay where you're at, go up a little bit. Just don't go crazy with it. just calm down.
Get the wins, dang it.
And put that red Mawashi back on. I don't ever want to see that gray Mawashi again.
Get that mess
out. It's like everybody I couldn't see him. All of a sudden, I just couldn't see him. Even my 4-year-old daughter was like, that's not the baby sumo. She thinks he's the baby sumo. She goes, he wears red. So just stick to the red, will you?
Gotta send him a sternly worded letter.
So the next one is Ono Show.
Oh, no.
Speaking of somebody, Show, who was wearing red. I think he was still wearing red last time. Once again, this is a guy who should be doing better. Everybody says it. Everybody knows it. There's got to be a psychological factor. He is like a Hokuto Fuji in that he just goes in and he's going to get you, and then somebody just parries him and he falls on his face. He's got to switch it up. I don't know what's going on in training. I don't know what he's being taught. Maybe he's not listening. Or maybe they need to try something else. Because he could be better than this. And, it was still fun seeing him pumped up about his first win. But I want to see him pumped up because he made it to Sanyaku.
The last tournament for him, he just needs to just cut the whole thing.
Forget it.
It never happened.
Nope.
It was just the weirdness of July. Everything. So he needs to just be get 3 wins, celebrate like crazy, and then keep going.
I mean, wouldn't it be fun? I mean, you can't over-celebrate, A, and B, you could get fined in Japan for celebrating. But wouldn't it be great if he was the guy who... You always get you see the glimmer in his eye when he wins. You see, the bottled-up passion, I just want a fist pump. I would love if he could just shift into that, where you're
fun.
Look at him, he's so excited, he can't contain himself.
I can't help but feel that Onosho is going to do fine now.
Yeah.
And... It's just there's the nagging fear that this is the train wreck that you won't walk away from, but it's like the 1% chance that he completely falls apart. But then the rest of it will be fine.
Yeah, I mean he doesn't have anybody chasing him. He doesn't have any he's not in a position to actually say I want to be Ozeki. So he should just take this moment of less pressure and just build it up. Don't think too much. Do your thing, Your style of sumo. Oh, I love that style of sumo thing. So then we have Saturn Umi. I don't have much to say.
Him and Kagayaki need to get into like a street fight or something.
Yeah, so create a new storyline where the two of them are just like, ugh.
He's good though, and I mean he's sort of treading water here.
Yeah, he's sort of where he's been for a while. He doesn't make waves. I think I'm going to start paying a little bit more attention to, his tachi-ai and things like that, so that at the next podcast, I can at least say whether or not, there's something I can visibly see that he's doing wrong. At this point, I would say that I don't see anything because I haven't taken the time to specifically look at those little intangible things. But as an overall picture, he's not doing anything outwardly that's like, well, yeah, if you jump 6 feet in the air, you're going to fall on your face. He's just kind of, steady and doing his thing and, to be continued on Saturn Umi. Koto Echo is one of my favorites. When he first came up, I'm like, this guy is just cool. I don't know what it is. I just like him. He had, a big drop, and then all of a sudden he shows up to this tournament like Arnold Schwarzenegger. His shoulders were so big, I was like, you don't look like a sumo wrestler. You got the sumo wrestler hair, okay? But everything else looks like a bodybuilder.
He's going places. There was an authority.
Yes,
in his
there
sumo,
was.
And it's like, there are, again, because July was so weird, and he shows up, here's this guy who probably was doing weights for 4 months, so he's got the body. So, for Koto Echo, last tournament was him establishing the new tone. If he does well this time, I'm going to just start losing my mind for him. He's going to be the new pick for me.
Is he going to be the new Tochinoshi where he just picks people up and throws them out of the ring?
The possibilities are endless. He's just going to be this little guy who just chucks people into the stands.
The anti-Endo in that he's a little guy, but he can just pick you up and smash you.
My brain is running away
with the scenarios,
with the Koto Echo possibilities, because and again, it's all going to be this tournament for him.
Yes. Because
if he shows up and he's that sort of slowing down a little bit or struggling a little, then you'll be like, almost had it. Or you got to wait on it again. But if he comes in there and that train ride just keeps going, I'm going to hype that hype train. I'm just going to jump right on. I'm going to get a Koto Echo shirt. I'm going to run around. I'm going to do his unfortunate picture in the NHK and just like...
Yeah. That's not a great picture.
I'm just going to be right on the front of my shirt. I'm just going to be like, I'm going to be a new fan.
I'll go track down the sumo cards and... I am going to make a prediction that he's going to have a great tournament. I'm not going to predict, records. I'm not going to predict whether he's up in the upper echelon. I think he's going to have a great tournament. Nobody's thinking about him. He is jacked. He had fire. I am predicting good things for him. Maybe that's just in my heart, but I'm going to make the prediction.
I'm not going to talk about people doing suplexes yet.
Not quite yet.
That'll be my November speech.
I'm already looking forward to November after we find out what happens in September, because it's just this chaos train is not slowing down. It's just not slowing down.
Come on, Koto Echo.
So now we have Chiyotairu, which he just does his thing. I don't think there's any upward.
He's slipping a bit. I'm a little worried. I'm hoping that he regroups now, and then his tachi-ai just carries him for 8 wins.
His tachi-ai is just a fun thing to watch. It's kind of like watching Choji and Naruto just meatball something halfway across the room. Once again, he's one of those character guys that you just want him there, and us in particular, we pretty much root for everybody to do good. Yes. We don't have an enemy that we're like, I hope you lose. So, getting on that train, I hope great things for him, but I think he's kind of stuck where he's at, and he's somebody who might keep falling.
That's what I'm worried about, but I think he's still got enough that he can at least tread water.
He could tread.
I want to see a little more. We'll see. It's also sort of like a okay, July happened, now what's going to happen here? Maybe he had some issues.
He's one of those people that says we should forget it. You know, there's going to be a whole bunch of people on here that's just crumpled up like a piece of paper.
Crumple it up. You showed up. That's about as good as it's going to get.
Right. You got yourself in like the good form, because for anybody who didn't get injured in this last tournament, that was training. That's the best training you've had in 5 months.
Yes.
So anybody who didn't get injured or suffer some sort of mental setback, July was just a really good training session for you.
It's a scrimmage.
Yep, take it that way and go. Go with it. Kodoshogiku, which we talked about, he's going for some records. He's going for most wins in the upper ranks. That's really where his focus is. He's at 716, I think. He's got 3 guys ahead of him. I don't know that he'll go to be number 1. I don't think that's even possible because it's probably Hakuho. But he wants to just get the next guy and the next guy, and he's just keeping himself in good enough shape to keep chasing the records. And that's a good place to be in if you're an older wrestler. Once again, what's my motivation? His motivation is get these records. It's fun. It's fun to keep doing sumo. It's fun to chase the records and have a goal. And then maybe that's when you say, yeah, I'm done.
He caught that Taran Fuji shine.
He did.
Too. It's good to see him winning again, because he was starting to fall down and fall down and fall down. He was just like, it would be those slight enough losses that it wasn't a big loss. But now he's got the win back. He's got the drive. Everybody's inspired. Let's see if he can keep the momentum.
We love the little bumpity.
The bumpity sumo.
Yeah, he's got his own style that, when you talk about styles of sumo, right? They're talking about the way they win. When I talk about styles of sumo, it's how do you, like, what do I see when you win? It's like, oh, it's good that we got the bumpity over here, we got the meatball throw over here, we got Tochinoshin with the sky lift. What's entertaining for me as a fan? So Kodoshogiku, please stay in. We'll keep the bumpity going. Kodoshoho.
Newbie last time.
Yes, so...
Oh, actually, no, he was not a newbie.
He's newer.
Maybe he was a newbie. I have to look it up. I think he was... Could not have been
more than 2 tournaments.
Yeah.
So I have very little to say about where he... he rose up a couple of ranks. He got his 8 and 7. I don't know enough about his sumo to know what he's going to do, but if he could just incrementally, keep getting your 8 and 7s and get your experience. Fight the top guys, see what they do, see what they don't do, get your experience, and decide what's the best strategy, how am I going to get to where I want to get.
Yeah, he's going to be good to watch. It's always good for the newer people to get those wins. So first off, to sort of establish yourself, and then to keep going up.
Well, another interesting thing, which we sort of talked about but didn't, and this will add to him, is this won't always look like this. Mm-hmm. You're going to have guys who retire. You're going to have guys that drop. If you're one of the guys who's new, your goal is just to get in the mix. Because it's not always going to look like this. You might be the top guy 2 years from now. It changes so much. It's unreal. So the next is another one of your guys, Kaisei. Kaisei had a neck injury, and I don't know if it's healed or not. That's a really tough injury to have as a sumo wrestler. You kind of need to move your head for everything. There's nothing I can say as far as whether he's going to go up or not, because I don't know how injured he is, and I think he is starting to get outpaced by all the young guys, all the guys who are doing good. What does he have to offer that's different when he was like up a little bit higher? Like, you almost see like the skills diminish because everybody else has got fresh blood or a new training regimen.
He needs to pull it together a little bit. And for people like Enho, it's more of a longer term goal. But for Kaisei, it's like if he keeps falling, I don't think that momentum's going to stop.
No, he's got to do damage control basically. Mm-hmm. And we'll see. I mean,
fingers crossed.
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
So our next guy is Meisei, who won the Juryo Championship. Meisei is one of those guys I had my eye on originally when he came up. He came up either right when Koto Echo did or somewhere around there. Obviously, winning the Juryo tournament tells you something about him. I mean, because he had to fight in a 3-way playoff, 3 or 4-way playoff, you got to have endurance for that. And endurance is something we haven't really talked about with a lot of these guys. You got your skill, you've got your mental thing, but you also need endurance. And there's something about Meisei that tells me he's got endurance and that's his game, and that he will rise in the ranks. I don't know why he fell before. Once again, you don't always know when somebody's injured. You obviously don't know if somebody has a mental thing going on or something going on at home. I don't know why he fell, but I think he will go back up. I have no doubt in my mind, barring some catastrophic injury, that Meisei will be on the way up.
He had the potential. You think he was falling apart. Injury, I don't remember. Injury sounds right. Maybe he just didn't have his game. I expect this to be his second rise. I expect this to be the beginning of the new chapter of Meisei in here. How far he goes is really up to him. Now, towards your point, winning a 3 or 4 person playoff that's a character thing.
Yes.
That's saying... Now, also, what's interesting is that he was going to get into Megashira whether or not he won that playoff.
Right.
So this has nothing to do with, if I win this, maybe I won't.
Right. He didn't need to win.
He didn't need it. He was Jiraiya 1. So for me, that wasn't I need this win in order to get promoted. It's like, I need this win because I want it.
Yeah, there's something about him where you feel the desire. And I think if all goes according to his plan, he'll be up in the tops.
Gonna keep an eye. It's gonna be fun because the top people and the bottom people,
they both
very top, the very bottom, and then the people. There's a lot of stories in the middle. A lot of stories this tournament, actually. Now that I'm looking at it, but anyway, keep an eye on Meisei. He may be going places.
The next guy is Enho's training partner, Hakuho's first protege, who made it up into the upper ranks, is Ishiura. Ishiura, I love him. I don't see a future. He cannot seem to figure out what he's going to do. He is not as small as Endo. He actually has some strength. He actually could do some things with that strength. But he doesn't pull off the techniques the way Enho does. He's very sloppy. And I really don't know what goes on with him and Hakuho and Enho. If there's a thing going on. If Ishiura is not as committed. I don't know enough about it. But something is off about him, and there always has been, where you see him, and he just never seems to have a game plan. Maybe he does, but it doesn't look like it. Even when he hankas, he loses when he hankas, because he hankas at the wrong time, or he hankas too much, or he hankas right into the guy's elbow. There's just something really off when there could be something great. There could be something great. He knows a lot of techniques. He doesn't use them.
This seems to just be Ishiura's thing, to your point. When I started watching, Ishiura was already in there, and he was just that mid to lower range guy he was the small guy, and so he kept doing the Henka thing, and it was always sort of a joke of, will he Henka? Of course he will, but will he actually? And so that was sort of like, that was his brand, and now that brand's sort of been taken away from him, because now we have this rise. And so it's weird, because Ishiura always had this sort of had all these tricks in his bag, but he didn't have the Hakuho style spin in the wrist,
right?
In order to know what trick to pull out of the bag at one point. And it's the fact that the things he was known for, now that they've been taken away, now all we see is he has the deep bag of tricks. He has a lot of techniques and styles. He just can't apply the game plan on top, or the I think execution would be a little bit more fair, because somebody like Ishiura, anybody in this list, they know what they're doing. Right. So it's a matter of, in that 1/10 of a second, knowing whether to go for the belt or to spin or whatever that is. So that little tick, I don't know if he'll ever have that. I was his number one fan, so I don't say this as someone, because I've been pretty friendly to most guys. I'm going to be a little harder on him. I don't know that he'll ever be what he could be. And that crushes me. I'm having a crushed moment over this. And I think you touched on something that might be the case. He's sort of lost his identity. He is no longer the smallest man in sumo. He was when we first started watching. There was no Enho. There was no Koto Eko or Meisei or anybody. He was the small guy. And so he could surprise you. But now that's gone. Who is Ishiura?
Who is Ishiura without, if he's not as good at executing as everybody else? Interesting note about him, though, is Ishiura is his name. So he's one of the few guys who kept his actual name. That is not a sumo name. That is his last name.
Man, I knew that and I forgot it. That is amazing.
And that's for some reason that's another thing that I really like about him. I just like that he kept his name, and it's a good name. It's a fun name. So I will root for you. I will not abandon you. But right now, I am not convinced that you have what it takes to do what I think you can do.
Yeah. Also, Ishiura is getting to the point where a bad enough loss and he's back in Juryo. He's been there before and he's come back. So, not too worried if he dips in, but it's sort of one of those,
Well, does he have the Endo thing where it's like, you don't know, because first of all, it's a different culture. The Japanese do not display their emotions the way we do. If I saw Ishiura and he was American, I would say he doesn't care. He doesn't care enough. Not he doesn't care, because that's one of those awful things that people say when they don't know what they're talking about. He doesn't display the energy or the excitement to, I really want to do this. It's almost seems like a mental thing where you just say, well, I can't do it, so I did what I could. But we'll see. We'll see. Sorry for being hard on you, Ishiura, and not anybody else, but I want so much more from you. Sorry. The next guy is Toby Zaru, who is new.
New.
And he is brand new, so he came up from Juryo. He's going to be somebody that all you can say is, let's watch and see what happens. His name means flying monkey, apparently. I would direct you to watch Chris Sumo's video about Toby Zaru. It's very short, but it's very fun. His comments were very fun. If you want to get to know him a little bit, that's the channel to go to. If you want to get some grasp of who he is before you watch the tournament. I will say no more about him because I'm just going to keep an eye on him. I'm going to make big stars. We should have these sheets when we're watching.
Yeah.
So we can make little notes about so Toby Zaru is the next big thing.
There's a few people that are brand spanking new. And so I'm basically going to have the same opinion on all of them, which is, welcome to big leagues.
Let's see what you can do.
I'm looking forward to what a couple people here, like Toby Zaru, people have got an eye on him. A couple other people are being heralded.
Yes.
And I'm sort of over him like, yes, tell me more.
Please.
Show me this splendor.
Well, the stories are going to break up into the competitiveness up in Sanyaku, the Ozeki stuff, what are the Yokozunas going to do, and then you're at the bottom. What did the new guys do? What did the rookies do? What can we look forward to? Watch one of them win the tournament. I doubt it, but that would be not out of the realm of possibility these days. So the next is Abi. The whole Abi thing is just crazy to me. First of all, to hear that he didn't go out just once and get caught. He was out like 10 or 15 times. And finally they said that's enough.
It's a bad look.
I will say I am shocked and not shocked with what they did. Where I'm not shocked. Because he's Japanese, I didn't think they'd kick him out. I think it's very easy to kick a foreigner out because no one will be loyal to that foreigner. There's a stigma in Japan that's always existed. Even if they don't talk about it. Foreigners cause trouble, Japanese don't. And that's in society, too. There's a weariness about foreigners if they step out of line. It's almost like a Japanese wouldn't do that, but a foreigner would. And that's in sumo as well. So I thought, he's Japanese, they're not going to kick him out. But the punishments that they gave him, whoa. He has to move out of his house with his wife. I think it's his wife. He has to move out of his house with his wife and basically be locked down in the stable, get suspended for how many tournaments? 3 tournaments, so you're going to drop rank. This is another one of those Japanese versus American versus athlete and regular person. I would never, ever accept it. I would just let it go. Yeah. But if you're an athlete who's worked your whole life for it, you might be willing to take the harshest of penalties to stay in. But if he cared that much, why did he violate the rules so haphazardly? What was he trying to prove?
My theory is that it's not that Abi was doing something weird. It's just that Abi got caught.
That's a fair point.
Now, this is 150% speculation. I have no idea what's going on outside of what was said. what I can say for the tournament perspective is that Abi's listed, but he's going to be suspended, so he won't be
He's on the rankings chart, but
he's on the rankings chart, but he's not going to be participating in the tournament, which means that next Basho he will be in Juryo, and then likely he'll be dropping down from Juryo into the Makushita, which is the non-salaried. Which means that we won't see Abi in the upper ranks again for about a year.
Right.
So that's like
Tomokaze level.
So it's sort of they gave him an injury, and they say you're now going to be injured for 6 months, and then you're going to have to work your way back up. So for Abi, this is going to be a completely mental battle.
Yes, it is. Because you're not actually hurt.
Yeah. So as a fan, good to see that there is a potential for Abi to come back. Now, the whole weirdness, the cultural, the politics, the severity of the punishment, I don't have any real seat of knowledge that I can speak from on that. So I'm just going to say Abi 10 times, really.
Well, I will say this, too. If you go to Chris Sumo's page, once again, he has a whole thing on this. And I think that his perspective is different. Being someone who actually lives in Japan, knows how sumo works, knows how Japan works, all of it, he has a different take that is not as severe as mine. So I kind of have to be, devil's advocate here, where I gotta say, what I'm feeling about it. But I might not necessarily be right about it. There might be a whole other thing, and it's sitting here in the USA. I will never, ever know or understand it completely. So, go to Chris Sumo's page if you'd like to learn another perspective.
Also, Abi, see you next year.
Get it together, man. Let me tell you, you have some skills that if you just take this time to hone those skills, maybe you come back and just beat everybody, and this was the greatest thing that ever happened to you.
Maybe. There's a lot of ways this can end, and we're not going to know until May of 2021.
That's right. We won't know a lot of things in the world until May of 2021. I think we should just star the calendar next year and throw the whole year out.
May of 2021. Oh, the Martians showed up in November, so it's all been weird since then.
Yeah, there was an asteroid that crashed November 2nd, Well, let's just all look forward to the life of May 2021. So then we have Shimano Umi, who we've spoken about before as just... He's kind of hanging out where we expect him to hang out until he shows us something else. I expect him to hang out in 11 to 15, do his thing. The question is, will he have a downward spiral where he winds up in Juryo? I haven't seen enough from him to really speculate.
He does need a winning record if he doesn't want to be in Juryo.
He's close.
He may scrape by with a 7 and 8, but he can't do much worse than that.
No, he's kind of just got to get his priorities straight and say, what do I want to do? This tournament's crucial if I want to stay up here.
Yeah, it's a put up kind of a moment.
It is. The next is one of my favorite guys, Shohozon. He dropped from Maegashira 12 West to Maegashira 15 West. He's been on the downward spiral for a while. I can't see physically what's wrong. I don't see a lot of tape necessarily or anything like that. That doesn't mean anything, though. He is up there in age. I think he is the oldest guy left in the tournament now. He is where Yoshikaze was a couple of years ago. And Yoshikaze, it seemed like he could keep going. And then all of a sudden he just retires. I'm expecting that with Shohozon. I don't know when. Physically, it looks like he's still in great shape and there's no problems. So I think he's going to surprise us with a retirement. And it could be any time. It could be, this tournament could be November. He could go on and do 5 more tournaments, but he's definitely on the decline, which is sad. I really like him.
I am worried this is the last time we're seeing Shohozon. I don't want that. But here, we're looking at him like, if he shows what he showed last tournament, which was not a lot, then he slips into Juryo, and then that's it.
That's it. I don't think he would keep going.
I'm scared. I don't want it to happen, and it's, well, when you get to this age, it really is just how much longer can you push yourself. Maybe this is just it. Maybe it's the smart call.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
How much do you want to, too? You know, what do you have going on, you know, outside of sumo that might be more enticing? You know, for some guys, whatever sport they're in, they want that for the rest of their lives. And they will go through whatever it takes to stay there. Us not having a glimpse into their actual lives, we have no idea.
Yeah. So you can see him pulling double-digit wins and just shooting back up. And then we're just like, he's back! Or you can see him just barely doing enough to stick around, and then it's the same story next tournament. Or you can see him doing another 5 and 10, and then he just...
I'm done.
That's it. And I mean, this is the other side of the sumo story. That
the sadder side.
Yeah, everybody's got to go, and at the same time, it's not like they leave. Like we talked about Yoshikaze, now he's training. Now he's a manager, so he's there but not visible.
Right. He didn't leave the sport. He's just taken on a different role. As I would say, he goes from top knot to track jacket. You know? You might be seeing track jacket Shohozon in November.
Yeah, I remember one of the first times this happened with me, and I was just like, not him, it was Takakaze back when. But then I the next basho after he retired, he had the track jacket and he was sitting in that hallway, and I'm just like,
you're still there!
Yay! And so it's the transition. And so like this is the worst part as the fan, because they go away, they hang out the Mawashi, but it's for the life cycle of the sumo sport.
It has to happen.
It has to happen, and also it can be a good thing, and it's up to Shohozon. So this may be the last taste of Shohozon ice cream we get.
Well, you look at where we started. You see the coaches and the judges and stuff like that. They were once wrestlers. Yes. We now look at them as, oh, look at that guy. He trained, this guy. That will be them someday. We're just having to live through the rough part.
It's sometimes new.
Yes. I don't like new.
I don't
Stop with the new. Unless it's added new. I don't like subtraction.
Yeah. New. It's always something, though.
So now our last 3 guys that we're going to talk about.
2 of the 3 guys are brand new.
And then 1 we haven't heard from in a while.
No.
So Kyoku Taisei, Maegashira 16 East, up from Juryo 5 East. 10-5 record, promising. Different ball game when you get to
I don't know anything about either of these Maegashira 16s, neither Kyoku Taisei or Hoshoryu.
I will say that Hoshoryu is the nephew of Asa Shoryu. He has I'd say the weight of the world on him. He's made a couple of comments, and once again Chris Sumo's videos, that suggest that his uncle is still very much involved in what he's going to be doing, even if it's just by conversation.
Yes. So Toby Zaru, Kyoku Taisei, and Hoshoryu, like my collective opinion on them is, I want to see.
Yes.
Show me the goods.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. They're new, they're fresh, they're hungry. It's the latest batch. This could be the beginning
of something.
This could be the beginning of a wonderful relationship. Let's see it. I'm so looking forward to seeing the new people. I think last tournament it was just Koto Shoho. I think last time was the only new guy.
Yeah.
So we all looked at Koto Shoho. I remember it was a bit of a roller coaster for Koto Shoho last time, because he started out real strong and then he lost a whole bunch, and it looked like I think it took him to the last day to get that 8th win.
Right.
And I was like, oh, but now we got 3 of those going on. So
right, and now you're a little more experienced. Now you know how to pull it out a little bit.
Now we got 3 newbies who are gonna cut their teeth.
I will say this: Hoshoryu is probably the next Enho. There's a lot of hype. And a lot of people will be paying I bet you NHK World will have his matches in the highlight show.
Probably.
We won't get everybody's, but you'll probably get most of his, because everybody's like, what is the nephew of the great Asa Shoryu going to do? And the final guy is the September Yusho winner, because he is Maegashira 17, and that's the new thing. Ichinojo.
He was 14-1.
He was. He had 1 shot at the tournament before the downward spiral happened right after he didn't get that tournament. And they wouldn't let him fight Hakuho. So, Ichinojo, as we all know, biggest guy in sumo. I mean, he's tall and he's heavy, and his matches with Tochinoshin are legendary.
The Leaning Tower.
I love it. They may not be the most exciting to watch from like a technique perspective, but just to see two big men get in there, amazing.
Good to see him back.
Glad he's back.
He's regrouped enough to make it back to 17.
Because he's been in Juryo for a couple of tournaments
a while.
now.
Like, he started... Whenever you see somebody who you sort of expect in the upper ranks in the Megashira and they fall down in the Juryo, you'll be like, they'll be back. But then he sort of didn't
come back.
And I was just like, ooh, what happened? But now he's back. We're just like, okay.
He's got back issues.
Yes.
So hopefully those got worked out. I mean, he's such a big guy. He was probably crushing people in Juryo. Obviously not enough to get out.
Yeah.
But, like, there would be certain people that just couldn't handle him just from his size. You can't get around him. You can't get a good belt grip. Hopefully he took that time to heal up, and hopefully he's going to come back and do what he was doing. I have no idea, because he's not a young guy. I don't know if he can do it. But all I know is he's back. I'm excited. He's going to win the tournament. Just kidding.
17 rank, and just saying.
I want to do an honorable mention, and then we're going to do predictions.
Okay.
And then we'll wrap it up. Honorable mention is Chiyo no Kuni is finally back in Juryo. He has been down in the lower ranks for a while since his... I believe it was the Tamawashi thing, but he might have had another injury now that I heard that there was another injury. So he's the next guy working his way up from the bottom to try to get back into the upper ranks. I hope he does very well in Juryo. I hope he wins the Juryo tournament and we see him back. It might still be 2 tournaments, but I'd love to see him back. He was a favorite of mine when he was there. He's been gone a long time, and we're always rooting for the underdog and the comeback story. So congratulations. Hope to see you soon. Predictions. I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
I'm going to put the pressure on you. Who's going to win the tournament, and who would you like to see win the tournament?
All right. So I expect Hakuho and Kakuryu to be gone.
Okay.
Kakuryu will make a show of it, but will not show, I think. I would love to be wrong. I think that if there was ever a time for Kakuryu to sweep in and just grab it out of underneath everyone's nose, this is the environment for that. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's gonna ever get it together again for that, but like every time Kakuryu wins, I'm just like, yes.
Right. Just keep going.
Keep going. I'm just like, but renewed the lease. I think Asanoyama is going to be hungry for it, but I don't think he's going to get it. I'm thinking Takakeisho is going to do another like 8 to 10 wins. It'll be a Goedo. I would love to see Taran Fuji back to back it. That's the story. I think Daisho is going to dark horse it.
Okay, so you think he might win?
I think it is going to be like, the thing is, like, everybody's looking at Asanoyama. They're going to be looking at maybe Mitaki Umi, because those are the 2 guys who, like, on paper, if they win it, it means the most.
Yep.
I think this is Daisho's time to grab it all up, so I'm going to vote for Daisho. I'm going to hope for Taran Fuji.
Okay.
That being said, Megashira 17 is never off the table.
That's
so
right.
Ichinojo coming in, because I mean that's the number one thing about all of this, is that you can't expect it.
You can't.
So like, I am looking right over Ichinojo. I'm just happy to see him back. So him just knocking everybody out of the way like bowling pins, it's a possibility.
It's very much a possibility.
Or anybody in any of those Juryo people. Meisei back-to-back wins. Also on the table. He's low enough. He's low enough for contention. So I guess if I had to pick somebody, it'd be Daisho.
Okay. I'm going to say that Asanoyama is actually going to win this one.
Okay.
It's not what I want. And I'm trying to root against him, but he's not my favorite. With saying that, I acknowledge the fact that anything could happen.
Yes.
It's not a strong feeling, like, he's going to win. But I think there's a chance with what he's been going through. If he trains hard enough and it's close enough to the last basho, he just continues that basho and he corrects the error of his ways and he wins this tournament. With that being said, there are so many people after him. There are so many people with skill. There's guys who are back. There's young guys. I don't know that he actually has it in him. But I'm going to say that he's probably going to win. Obviously, from a favorite standpoint, I always want Takakeisho to win. I will say that. He's not going to win. I love him. If I could pick who was going to win, I'd want it to be Takayasu. I don't think he's ready. My dark horse pick. I'm not going to say who could possibly win. I'm going to say who's going to be in contention.
Okay.
And as I go through this list, I actually think Koto Eko and or Meisei will be in contention. One of those guys is going to be there around at least day 10. We'll say day 10. Those guys are going to be up there somewhere. One or the other. Haven't figured out who.
Oh, can you imagine Koto Eko in contention?
I would love it.
Oh.
I think Koto Eko has a chance. I think Meisei has a chance. I think he has a lot in him. He could do it. I also think Daisho is going to be in it. I could see your pick being right, him winning. He's got some hungry drive. If he could put it together. I also think Taran Fuji is going to be in it.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
And I could see a back-to-back win. I could see it happening. I think he'll be in it. I think Shoudai, Mitaki Umi, and Okinomi, I think they're going to cancel each other out. I could be totally wrong because Shoudai, once again, this is such chaos that as I make these predictions, I could change my mind 5 minutes from now. This is just my gut right now. I think there's going to be some canceling out with all this bottleneck. I think some guys are going to struggle who they're just going to put too much pressure on themselves and there's just too many guys to fight and they're going to cancel each other out. So I'm predicting an Asanoyama win with Meisei, Koto Eko, Taran Fuji trailing. And maybe a Daisho or a Shoudai. It won't be both.
Okay.
I don't have any faith in Mitaki Umi. I'm sorry. There's another guy I'm too hard on. I'm sorry. I wish him well. I don't have any faith in him. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
I think Mitaki Umi wins. He's Ozeki. I think Asanoyama is destined to win this one.
It feels like a destined thing.
It does. Like, you look at it like that's how this story ends. So I definitely... It feels like Asanoyama is the smart money.
Yeah. Which I never take the smart money.
No.
And the smart money has not been right, but it's got to be right eventually. And I think this is the tournament where smart money, if you were betting on this, Asanoyama, you got to take it. It's there for you. 12-3. Just a couple of mistakes. You could have won that last tournament. You're there. Take it. Take what's yours.
It'll be good. I can't wait.
No matter what happens, I wish all these guys luck. I want everybody to just do their best brand of sumo, and I want to have a fun, exciting tournament with no injuries. No injuries. Can we have that?
No injuries. No COVID.
No COVID.
And so glad that this was a shorter break.
Yeah. After 4 months of no sumo, it's nice to have a nice back-to-back.
We're back into it.
Yep. So I hope everybody enjoys the show. We will do one more show when it's all over.
Yes.
And then we will be taking a break until the next one starts. So you won't have as much from us as you did this time around. We're only going to do a pre and post unless we become super famous and everybody wants to hear what we think every moment of the day.
Man, November feels so far away.
Yeah.
we gotta really, this 15 days of sumo, they're just going to be that sweet oasis water in the desert.
Yeah, it's like drink it up.
Drink it up.
Just drink it up.
Drink it up.
And then go into hibernation because winter's coming. No!
Welcome to New York State.
Yeah. So, farewell, sumo fans. Hope you enjoyed it.
See you next time.